Hello and welcome to the Real Estate Regroup Show. I am your host, LJ Walker, a real estate investor helping you realize your dreams of owning a home or investing in one. So in the comments of one of my other videos, someone wanted to know, how do you get rid of difficult tenants? Well, listen, difficult is a subjective word, right? Difficult can mean people that you either don't get along with, or it can mean some other things. Now, according to the court, you can't just kick somebody out just because you don't like them. All right. Here are the major four reasons why you want to get rid of a tenant, or why or how the court would deem a tenant as being difficult. That would be number one, the people who don't pay their rent. Number two, a person who has violated the terms of your lease. Number three, a person who has damaged the property. And number four, someone who is performing illegal activity or engaged in illegal activity on your property. Okay, so for the last three, let's say they're paying your rent, but they violated the terms, they damaged the property, they're also involved in some illegal activity on your property. You don't have to renew their lease. You can give them 30 to 90 days before the current lease ends and say that you don't wish for them to return. It depends on your state as far as when you are supposed to give them notice, okay? Now, let's say it's the person who isn't paying rent. If they're not paying rent, typically if they're 30 days late, 60 days late, you want to go ahead and file for an eviction. All right. Now, that's for a regular tenant, someone who rents month to month. And they may have a year lease or more. Now, you also have what you call rent to own tenant owners. This is with people who, let's say you have a property, like I did, and you have set it up to be lease purchase, where the people, they're interested in buying the home, but they don't necessarily have enough money for the 20% down payment. Their credit may not be all that great, etc., etc. So, or they may have a criminal past. So they will come to you and you will do a rent to own program with them. And the rent to own program you choose will either be lease option or lease purchase, right? Because at the end, after a certain period, like let's say 5 years of them renting from you, they would give you a balloon payment and then you would give them full title to the house. In those cases, if those people do not pay, or if they violate the terms of the lease, you can evict those particular people. Okay. Now, you have another rent to own option, which is called owner financing. With owner financing, you don't evict them, you foreclose on them, because those people already have title. You own the mortgage to the property. So that is why with them, you would do a foreclosure, and a foreclosure takes longer than an eviction, just so you know. All right. So now you have another set of people. Those are squatters. Those are people who, you may have a home somewhere and maybe you are fixing that home up. You are redoing it. And these people may break into the home and just decide that they're going to move right on in. Okay. So normally, again, it depends on the state, but a lot of times they'll call that an ejectment and not an eviction, because these people never had a lease to begin with. Okay? So I hope that's clear. Now, moving along, what you need to know is that, oh, one other thing too. In Mississippi is one of, I don't know if they still have it this way, but in Mississippi, you actually don't have to go to court. You actually don't have to go and do an eviction if you don't want to. You can literally tell the people that they need to leave. They need to get out. But here's the thing. Normally, if you just go up to people and tell them to leave, a lot of times they're not going to leave. And I know that many of them down there have weapons. So it's actually safer, I think, to go through the court and do an eviction as opposed to just knocking on the door and telling them to get out. Even if you do have a shotgun, it can get bloody, it can get nasty. And I don't want to advocate for anything like that. Okay? Because if I'm not mistaken, murder is still illegal. So that's basically my thoughts on that. Now, back to where I wanted to go. Again, all right, so when it comes to, let's say, changing the locks, typically, no, you can't just change the locks on them. You have to wait until court is finished, a decision is made, and you receive the papers before you can do that. Typically, also, a sheriff is normally will come out and make sure that the people leave your property. Now, recently, while I was in Alabama in court, they changed the law and they no longer send the sheriff out. So you have to go to like one of those property preservation people, companies, and they will assist you in removing the tenant and the tenant's belongings. Yeah, it's this happened right after COVID. Okay, so, and again, the length of time for an eviction and an ejectment, that varies by state to state. But it is, I noticed that after COVID, it's taken a lot longer in most states than it normally did. Like you have some states where, let's say, it used to take maybe 10 days to get rid of the person, and then now today it takes 3 weeks. And I think it's because even though COVID is over, so to speak, even though people are still catching it, what happens is that many of the courts shut down during COVID. You had a lot of lawyers and judges who left the legal profession, so they're still backed up. That's what I think. That's what I know. So, but it's still not as long of a process as if you were to do a foreclosure, because with a foreclosure, you could wait like a year before you're even seen in court. Okay. The next thing that you should be aware of and be mindful of is put everything in writing. Don't speak to them, especially during that time, the tenants, because they will take whatever it is that you say and twist it around. When it's on paper, it's more clear as far as what's going on. Plus, they may even try to accuse you of harassment. I've seen that as well. So that's my tips as far as if you're going through an eviction or trying to get rid of a tenant that is difficult. Okay, I'll let you know something else too. No matter where you are in the country, the North is more sympathetic, if you will, to tenants than the South. But during Christmas, most judges are not really trying to evict or have anybody out, even if they know that the person is guilty, meaning guilty of not paying rent, etc., etc. And they may say, okay, you have, instead of 30 days to get out, they may give them 45 days because of the holiday. You understand me? So that is something that you definitely want to keep in mind. The other thing too is utilities. Some people think that they can go ahead and shut the utilities. That's actually illegal in many states. You can't do that. So definitely check with your lawyer to see if you can just shut off the utilities. It's like a forced eviction. I know that some people do it anyway, even though it's illegal, even if they know that it's illegal in their state, but they do it because they say that they save, it's, the penalty money is less than the money that they would have paid if they kept all the utilities on in that particular apartment. So that's why some landlords take that risk. But understand that it's a risk, and understand that it is illegal, and I'm not going to be, promoting it. Okay, I'm not, backing it. I'm just letting you know this is something that people do. Okay. The next thing I wanted to say is, honestly, even though we don't always know when a person is going to be difficult or easy to get along with, the best way to get rid of a difficult tenant is to prevent them from even moving into your property. So that means that you should be in control. I believe all landlords, even if you have a property manager, you should be in control of what questions are being asked, and how is it that the person answers your questions. Ask them, do they have hobbies? Ask them what kind of job they have. Call their job and find out if everything that they wrote on the application matches what is being said. Because if they don't match, if it doesn't match, then they're 9 times out of 10, that's going to be a difficult person. Okay? And be honest with who you are. If you work at night, say, listen, I work at night. I need to sleep in the daytime. I need a quiet person. If they talk about, well, they they're in the chorus and they have to practice singing, guess what? That probably is not a good tenant for you anyway. Just say, listen, it's not going to work out. You're a nice person. I don't think we're a good match. Honestly, your lifestyle and their lifestyle may conflict, particularly for those of you who live on your property. If you live in your property, you can actually discriminate a little bit more so than someone who does not live in the property. For example, the properties I have out of state, I can't discriminate as much as I can with the people who live in here, in the house that I live in. When it's under when it's under 5 families and you occupy one of the units in New York, you can say no. Like, I can definitely say no to somebody who has a dog. Now, if it's a special dog, like a service animal or so, I might not be able to so much. Not a service animal. I forgot the proper terminology, because you have service animals and you have another type. But in general, no, I can't have somebody barking during the time that I'm sleeping. I need my sleep. I work in a very stressful job, and I just can't have that. If I look in somebody's background and I see that they were arrested for pedophilia, no, they are not getting an apartment in my home. There's a lifestyle conflict. I'm not renting to that person, and I don't have to. I know a lot of real estate A lot of realtors tell you that you have to and that you can't discriminate. No, you can. You can. If it just, what it is if they have a criminal past, you can't just say no. But if you look into their criminal past and you see exactly what it is that they did, then yeah, you can say no. If your child or you yourself have, let's say, asthma or some kind of breathing problem, and the person smokes, and it's for family or under, then you can say no, I'm sorry, but because of our lifestyle, it's not going to work out. So you don't rent to them, so that this way you're not dealing with somebody who's difficult in the first place, right? And then after you find the person who you believe will pay you rent on time, will not violate the lease, will not do anything illegal, etc., 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 make sure you keep all of the documents. Keep that application. It should be in a folder under their name in your office somewhere. And besides the application, you should also have the lease agreement. You should also have any notices that you have sent to them, whether it's a warning or even if it's not a warning, even just regular maintenance. You should say, you should have that paperwork in that particular folder. Why? Because when people go to court, they sometimes fabricate the truth. Even though they make us put our hands on the Bible and raise our other hand, some people will twist things around. You want to have that paperwork that says, no, this is what I sent out on this day. Make sure that that notice that you sent to them has a date on it, right? And this way, you know, and then also make sure that their name is spelt right. Because I know that in New York, if the name is not spelt right, if the apartment number is incorrect, they will throw it out of court and you will have to refile again. Yeah, New York is very different. Alabama is very forgiving. Alabama, you can spell the person's name wrong. They don't care. They don't care. But in New York, oh no, they care. It matters. Just one letter off, just one letter, it's getting thrown out of court. Okay? So guys, that is my advice for getting rid of difficult tenants. Again, difficult can be subjective. And oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, this is National Good Riddance Day. That's what we celebrate here in New York. So this video is actually perfect. The subject matter, that is. So basically, for those of you who don't know what National Good Riddance Day is, it's a day where you write everything down that you don't want to carry into the next year. Sorry about the phone. And then you burn it up at the end. All right, guys, so that's all I have to share with you. Hopefully the information will help you make smart financial moves. Feel free to pass this amongst your friends. Remember, each one, reach one, teach one. Bye for now. Until next time, have a good night.